If you're trying to grow your network and boost your LinkedIn profile, then this conversation is going to be gold for you. Today, I'm talking to Sean Matthews, who's going to share with us how he's grown his network to over 20,000 connections and followers. You're watching the Strategy Sessions. I'm your host, Jeremy Burt, leadership coach and mentor to executives and businesses who are looking for strategic support and advice to reach their full potential fast. Mr. Sean Matthews, welcome. Great to have you on. Thanks for joining us today.
It's Jeremy, great to be here and great to be on the Strategy Factory podcast.
Great to have you. Great to have you. Now, let me start with your bio. I'm going to read this out. Make sure you're happy with it. If there's any changes, we'll have to do it on the fly, right? But anyway, so Sean Matthews is a business builder, a networker, and problem solver with extensive business leadership experience across industry sectors, and now specializing in the technology transformation and change area within the aged care and healthcare sectors. With over 30 years of experience in sales and marketing leadership across B2B distribution channels, Sean has been instrumental in assisting organizations to grow their businesses across business development, sales, marketing, procurement, operational excellence, and particularly in the aged care and healthcare industries. He initiated the In the Zone podcast, in 2020, aiming to capture and share the stories of leaders in the aged care sector who are making a difference and to ensure their voices were heard at a time of great change. Sean's commitment to his field and his innovative approaches have not only advanced the sectors he serves, but also contributed to his expansive LinkedIn network of over 23,000 contacts and followers. How did I do, Sean? Is that about right?
Yeah, that's excellent.
So 23,000 followers, mate. You must be that's like LinkedIn glitterati, isn't it? That's right up there.
Look at it. It is good, but it's been built over a number of years. So I was probably one of the early adopters to LinkedIn in Australia. LinkedIn actually started in 2009. I started on LinkedIn in 2008, and it was Reid Hoffman and 4 other buddies in the US decided to create LinkedIn back in 2003, and there were it started off as a startup sort of a system, and it just went gangbusters.
Right.
So initially, when I got involved in it, I started from the outset, started to utilize it when it was a unicorn, so to speak, and sitting there, and just it went from there. So 17 years later, I could have grown it significantly more. But I think at the end of the day, you get to a stage where there's a limitation on depending on the audience that you want to try and achieve, and focus on building your own tribe there. So LinkedIn right now services about 1.1 billion people across the planet on LinkedIn. So you've got major global reach.
Yeah. And so when you initially started, and it sounds like you beat Australia to the punch, but when you initially started, did you think, right, that's it, I'm going for growth straight away? Or did it sort of like...
Yeah, look, I think my growth strategy at the time was just to build up a network of people that work with. At the first, when I saw LinkedIn, I thought, it's just a good way to get to know people in different industries and just get your name out there. So for me, it was, I was more adopting to the technology that came out and really and just embraced it.
Yeah. And have you focused more later on in actually growing the network to grow the network, or is it just been pretty consistent all the way through?
I have been focusing in great, and there are a lot of organisations or people out there selling how we can build your robust the number of followers and so forth. But I truly believe that, you can, I will at some point look at growth expansion on what I'm doing on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But at the moment, it's a lot of people are just coming to me to follow because of the content that I put out there, and it's making an impact. So, and I think that's a real important thing about LinkedIn. It's about authenticity, being real about who you are, but also having that level of the content you're putting out there is what people want and enjoy and get some value from.
So how closely do you look at your results? So do you put your content out there and go, that only got this many kind of impressions or what have you? How do you measure that, and how closely do you
Look,
watch that?
look, I there's a number of ways. I think I look at the impressions and I see what's going on there, but it's a matter of trial and error too. It's some of it works, some of it doesn't. So you've really got to go out there and put out a series of different things. So I'll look at content and I'll sort of I've been a bit lax of late, but you've got to put out content on a regular basis,
Mm,
and that content can be from video content. It could be content of something that an industry that you're working in that you find would add value. You want to comment, or you add comments to other people's LinkedIn posts that might be an influential person, and then you grab some of their people over to you because they're seeing that you're making some sense in what you're commenting on. So a lot of these factors have a big impact on what you do. But look, it's about you know, trying things, trying different strategies and plans on how do you attract an audience. And it really comes down to what are you trying to achieve? What's your main goal? If your goal is to build up a career path with, and connections that way, then you'll look at it maybe a slightly different way, and it's more about showing your competency in your role and what you do. In another way, it might be that I want to build business development. So it's about how do I look like I'm an influencer or a leader in that sector? What do I need to build and demonstrate? It might be that you're just it's part of you've got a business that you want to get out there and you're trying to let as many people know about what you do and the value you bring. So
yeah,
all of these things come into play.
yeah. And so, what's worked for you? What have you been trying to achieve out of it?
Look, for me, it's been a journey on a different things. So I've when I've worked for different companies, and I'll go back. I started LinkedIn when I was working for a company called Bright Sky, which was a healthcare company, not for a not for profit. Then gradually, when I went in, I worked for Bunzl and then Wink, and all of those companies. I think Wink was a real area because Staples changed to Wink, and there was we're building a brand in 90 days and trying to get out as much information about who we were. And so I had a really big that was a big impact for me at my job at that time as head of aged care, head of care for the for Wink.
Yeah,
And my whole idea was how do I get out and get everybody in the company engaged in what I'm producing on LinkedIn, and how do I get them to reshare it and demonstrate that. And the more you reshare your information, the more it gets out to a wider community, gets out to, and you get people that you wouldn't ordinarily have as followers coming on and following you. So it's about that. And then you leverage that and you move on to different things. There was a time where I was running my own consultancy business where it was focusing on how do I let more people know about what I do and what I'm
yeah,
trying to achieve. So it goes through various stages of ideation of what you're doing in LinkedIn, and it's really important that you have fun with it. It's not meant to, some of it, you'll try things and you'll go, I want it perfect, I want it to sound perfect, but by the time you do perfection, it's never quite. Nobody's ever quite happy with perfection because they get to it and then they think it's still not good enough. So what we're saying is just get to 70%, put it out there, see what happens, and then you'll be surprised.
have you ever had bad feedback? I mean, I know a lot of your videos are like very authentic, right? That you've put out, and some of them in your car, and some of them in a more sort of formal setting or whatever. But have you
Yeah.
ever had, a bit of heckling?
Oh, you get heckling. Look, you get heckling from people that want to give you a tough time. Some people will say stuff, but I look at everything and say it's great feedback to get from anybody. Really,
Yeah,
if people want to give you that feedback, sometimes it's because they don't want to do it. They feel that they couldn't do it, so that they
yeah.
have to put people down. That's fine. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I don't take anything to heart. I just look at it and go, well, at least I'm having a go and giving it a try out there.
Yeah. And so what's working the best, like in terms of a cadence? So it should it be every day or is it every week or do
Look,
you chop and
they
change?
They state the best time of day to post is between 8 a.m. and 8:30 in the morning.
Right. I'm right. I'm
And
writing this
I
down. I'm
yeah,
writing
and
this
I
down.
don't think there's a specific day that, it used to be Tuesdays and Thursdays used to be the best days to
Okay.
get connected. I think that's broadened a little bit, so it's not so much those specific days, but I think it just comes down to the quality of the content you're putting out there. So
Yeah.
I will do a video. I might do a video about being at the gym. It was all about movement. I was talking about getting up and moving. You get to a stage in life, midlife, you sort of go, well, if I keep myself healthy, I've got a good chance of having a good aging life down
Yeah.
the track. But if so I was more about the positivity, and doing those things in the car was saying it motivated me as well.
Mm.
So it was about, and it's funny you should say that, because I went to a function not so long ago, and a gentleman pulled me up, and Mark, if you're out there, he wants to interview me as well.
We'll tag
And
him.
I
We'll tag
said,
him.
Mark said to me, Sean, you inspired me, because I was sitting around being, doing my work, not focusing on my health and not giving that much thought. Now I'm actually going out and doing stuff. And I think that's a good example of stuff that, and you might get these people that like it, and they
Yeah.
might not even, but they've seen it and
Yeah.
know of you, and sometimes that's the best form of recognition you can get.
For sure. Counts even more than the actual number, absolute number of followers. Then.
Mm. Yeah, it does. And I mean, you could sit there and go the quality of numbers and say, I should really be at 100,000 after 17 years. But look, it's the quality of the people, and the type of tribe you're trying to build. Over time, that'll evolve. And I'll evolve into different things, and we'll focus on what's next down that road. But
Yeah.
right now, I'm just focusing on delivering good content, and creating information of value, so that people say, Sean's good in this sphere. Aged care and healthcare has been one of the areas I've been passionate about, being focused about how do we improve the aged care sector, working with some great CEOs and people across the board. But for me, it's been, the next step of that is the transformation into technology, and how technology can help you know create efficiencies in aged care and all that sort of thing. So I'm focused on what's that new tech look like, how does it adapt, what are we trying to achieve, and really look at co-design with aged care and healthcare providers.
Great. And so I've got a question about actually just expanding your network itself. And I hear some people, with strategies to say you should, every day you should like send out basically unsolicited friends requests or connection requests to people. Some people saying you should add a little ditty in there,
Yeah.
a little, hi, we have mutual connections. And other people just saying just keep banging it out there, but just don't let LinkedIn think you're a bot. What's your view on unsolicited connection requests?
Look, there's a couple of things. I have no problem with either or. I think if you want to do that and that's part of your strategy, fine. But be prepared that you may get a lot of rejection, and you won't get people they'll come and view you on your LinkedIn page. They mightn't accept you as a person because they might see the value. Then, if you're strategic about it and you want to focus on asking people for help, or you want to talk to someone, I think it's always important to give before you get, and focus on, if you're going to have a conversation, feel like you're helping them and giving them information that might help them.
Yeah.
I think if you go down that road where you're automatically looking at a transaction back, you're going to struggle. You'll struggle, and people will start to feel that you are um, invading their space on a level that they just don't like. And then all of a sudden you'll have people saying, all this guy does is just send me notes to try and sell me stuff. And the whole idea is, with LinkedIn, just to build the relationship. And like with all relationships, it's about how do you provide value to them?
Yeah.
And it comes back in spades later, because people start saying, this guy's really good and he's helped me out, and
Mm.
didn't ask for anything.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. Getting back to your point, though, if you want to do that whole invite, it'll work for a while, and then you'll get some, and then after a while, it'll just you're not adding any value to the relationship. So
So that's not
I
a
think.
strategy that you've used or that you like to use.
No, I don't. I don't think it's a great sustainable one.
Yeah.
I think what's another a good thing to use on LinkedIn, and not people are aware of it, is on the messenger on the messenger part.
Yeah.
There's a microphone. You can actually leave a message, a voice message, and you know what? That has more impact than sending a text message to somebody, because they'll listen to it and they'll go, "Wow, I didn't know this could happen." And
Yeah.
it's happened to me on a number of occasions where I've done that and said, look, I'd really love to have a chat.
Yeah.
I love what you're doing, and I'd love to see how we could evolve, and I can help you
Yeah.
in some way. That opens up the doors, and then
Yeah.
people go, wow, that's novel. Everyone keeps sending me emails and stuff, and I just don't have time. But I got to
That's a
know
good
the
one. Yeah.
authenticity of that person.
I think you've used that one on me, haven't you?
Yeah, I may have. Look, I've used it on a few people, and it's been a good thing. It shows that you're thinking differently, and that your willingness to show some authenticity with the way that you speak and how you come across.
Yeah, now there's an interesting word you've mentioned, authenticity. That seems to me the difference. Like if you're a super salesy versus really authentic, it seems to make a big difference. Would you agree?
Oh, look, it does. And look, people can see who you are, like, from the outset. They meet
Mm.
you. I meet a lot of people at different networking functions, and I get to meet them, and it's just wonderful from, the aspect that they say, oh, you're very similar to the way you come across. And I said, that's great. That means that what you see is what you get. And, that there's no flaws in, well, everyone's got flaws, but at least, we say things, like we try to get across what our messaging is. And if it's as authentic as possible, I think people then are attracted to that.
Yeah, yeah. So in terms of actually leveraging the network and so you grow it and what have you, for you, what's worked the best? Like, have you got new jobs out of the network, or have
Look,
how have you leveraged this following?
I have there's been different ways. I've leveraged work, I've leveraged opportunities, I've leveraged jobs. There's things that have come across that I've done through LinkedIn that I haven't had to use, and recruiters will hate this, but I haven't had to use recruiters in a long time, because I use my network and get my point across. And when I'm looking for business, it's about identifying who's having, what problem are we trying to solve? What can I help them with? And then, providing that information, and seeing how I can assist.
Yeah.
That's really the whole idea. When you're looking at the types of things that can work on LinkedIn, video has really good cut through. So
Mm.
if you can put a video out there, doesn't need to be long, but it can be, succinct, to the point. You might have 3 points. What works on LinkedIn is always asking a question, because when you ask a question, then people have answers out there that you didn't even think about, that
Yeah.
they'll come and provide comment on. And the most important thing is, if you want to, I'll give you an example. I had a gentleman that I used to work with, a technician. He decided the other day, he said, Sean, I'm going out there to look for a job. I've lost my job. I've got to go and get another job. My family are depending on me. He said, and he rang me a week later and says, I've got a job. I said, how'd you go? How did that happen? He said, I just went on LinkedIn and then contacted the CEO directly. And the
Yeah.
CEO said, come in and have a chat. And then the following week, I had a job. So it just goes to show you the power of just and making that move and that connection with people. Now, he said he's a very shy guy that would normally not do that. But he
Yep.
said, I took on your advice and I did something different, and it made me stand out.
Moving out of the comfort zone there. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think, many of us have done it. I've certainly done it, when you go, right, I'm going to do a video. And then you just think, well, what am I going to post? What's your advice on that?
Well, look, you know what? I think you got to get over the embarrassment side of things, because nobody likes the sound of their voice. They don't like the sound, what they look like on video. They don't do any of that stuff. But I think at the end of the day, it depends on what you're trying to convey. And if you want to, there's a message you're trying to put out there. I think everyone should have a crack at it. And do things that are uncomfortable. The best thing to feel a sense of excitement about doing stuff is doing stuff you feel very uncomfortable about,
Yeah.
giving it a go. And you know what? People aren't looking for perfection, but they'll certainly know that you had a go and you had to try at something, and that has an impact.
Yeah. And so for you now, what new things are you trying now? What new things are you focused on versus what you might have started with way back when?
Well, I think the emergence of AI has had a significant change in things. I mean, look, AI. I'm a big advocate for AI. I think, with ChatGPT, then there's Perplexity. I use Perplexity because it's
I do.
a very good system to use. But beware, the only caveat I put on that is be aware that whatever you put out there, it has to sound like it's come from you. If you're putting information out there and it sounds like you've cut and paste from an AI, artificial intelligence, after a while, people are going to start to find that this is the information that's coming out of this person. It's automated. It's robotic. It's not. And look, I've seen so many spelling errors and things that are not connected with the language that you sort of know straight off the bat that someone's not using their, and the way that they talk
Yeah.
comes across. So AI is great. Use it. Use it as a resource for efficiency's sake, but use your own language, your own words, because at the end of the day, that's all about authenticity. The
Yeah.
other thing I would suggest is video is taking more and more it has more cut through, but
Mm.
also commenting on people's posts. Like the other
Does that
day,
make a
I
difference? Is that
posted.
really important?
Well, I think it is. I
Yeah.
think what it does, and especially commenting on people that are high profile,
Yeah.
because you actually drag some of their contacts over to you. They start to see, and I'll give you an example. What's a good one? If you can be the first to comment on a person of influence in the marketplace that has huge social gravitas, or has the LinkedIn followership
Yeah.
to go, comment first.
Right.
That will sit right at the front of it, and everything else underneath will just
That's
it will
gold.
just be secondary.
I love it.
So you will find you'll get more and more people coming out connecting with you. I'll give you an example I did the other day. Jim
Yeah.
Penman from Jim's Mowing.
Yeah.
He went out and posted something about how his contracts for franchisees are simplified to a level that he makes it easier for them to get out of the contract rather than stay in the contract when
Yeah.
they're doing stuff. And he has a level of people that the loyalty that for Jim's Mowing and that organization, the reason it grows so significantly is because that is the type of person that Jim is. He's authentic, he's real, and he says what he does is uncomplicates the bullshit that goes on with big business, right?
Yeah.
What he's done, I commented on that. Jim commented straight back and said, I made a comment about how wonderful and refreshing it was to see that Jim took that tactic in
Yeah.
big business when everyone else is saying you've got to have these tight contracts.
Lock you in.
And you look at franchisees in general, it's very hard to get out of any contract. They make it ironclad and a lot of people are very unhappy once they get into franchisees that they're not.
Yeah. Can
And I'm
be.
not saying that for everything, but I'm
Yeah.
saying in general, the contracts are pretty ironclad. Whereas, so commenting on that, just snowballed another thing, and then so you get people come across, they like stuff, and then they'll start to follow you. So it's an example of how the world of LinkedIn works.
So that sort of ecosystem
It is. It
on
is.
LinkedIn.
It's an algorithm too. So
Yeah.
a lot of the algorithm in LinkedIn is driven by the type of followers. So hence why you need to comment. Comment meaningfully on things. Don't just comment. And I think a lot of people just go, "Oh, I like that. I like that," and then think that that's going to help the algorithm of LinkedIn, but it won't. It actually it will contribute to some point, but the more you comment on people's ideas, issues, that's what drives it, the algorithm of LinkedIn.
You should take that thought leadership position.
Yeah, yeah. Look, at the end of the day, you've got to look at what you're trying to convey out there, because your personal brand, this is where it comes back to you as your brand.
Mm.
Your personal brand is, what do you stand for? What do people look at you for? And if they don't see that you're disingenuous, or that you're coming across that you say one thing and do another,
Yeah.
then after a while, people just go, well, they'll just not follow you anymore.
Yeah. So LinkedIn question, paid or unpaid? Premium model versus free?
I've got the paid model.
Mm.
I like the paid model because it gives me insight into everyone that's viewing my LinkedIn profile,
Yeah.
and it gives me a whole lot of other options around. The 45 free emails that I can connect with people that may not have been connected with me, but I can get an email to them.
Yeah.
Those sorts of things. Outside of that, then there's the sales navigation thing, which a lot of salespeople use and companies use.
Yeah.
It's costly if you're a sole trader or you're working in business. I think the premium one. I've been on the premium even for a long time. When they went to paid,
Yeah.
because it was free for a long time until it wasn't. So I did that for that reason, because I wanted to continue my profile, and for that, I know it's only $69 to a lot of people, but it's $70 a month that you sort of go, well, I ought to spend it on something else anyway.
Yeah. And do you think it's possible to grow your network like you have without that premium insight?
Um, yeah, good question, Jeremy. Because I went straight to it, and I don't know any different. It's very difficult. I think you can still grow it without that, and you just got to think strategically about what you're trying to put out there, and how you try to do it. I
Yeah.
don't think it's very difficult for me to comment on whether it would work doing it elsewhere. I just know what's worked for me right now.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So we've come out with some nuggets here, just in terms of what, some advice that you've given out. Are there any more advice, sort of tips or tricks, something that that you really, like a hack that you really have enjoyed that you'd want to share?
Yeah, there's a couple of hacks. One is when you have a photo taken, or you've got a profile photo, doesn't need to be, you don't have to get a professional shot, but they're saying that if your head slightly tilted to one side, it has a
Really?
reflection of, yes, yeah, it has
Is that
the
right?
impact of, yeah,
It's a bad thing.
uh, it's just and basically making sure that your profile is the way you want it. The biggest thing with LinkedIn as well is, if you're looking for a job, I have people come up to me and go, "Oh, I've just been made redundant. How do I get started on LinkedIn?" I said, "It's too late. You basically got to build things. You can't just turn on LinkedIn and automatically you're going to get connections, and that it takes a long time. And it's usually you got to get to a certain level before the algorithm reads that you're actually worthwhile following, and people start to join you. So you can't really, so my advice is, if you're not on LinkedIn and you want to build your career, get on it now. Build that profile of who you are, what you are, about the wonderful things that you've contributed to in your roles, everything else, but mainly focus on the content and making sure that if you're working in a big company, that everyone is utilizing everybody's feeds, because without that, it just won't build you won't build that capacity to be leveraged out in the marketplace.
I love it. Some great advice there. Sean, look, it's been fascinating to talk to you. We're out of time. I've got like another 100 questions. We'll have to have another podcast and ask you some more questions. Certainly, if there's any questions from anybody, then please put them in the comments. I'm sure Sean would be happy to answer any more questions around any LinkedIn hacks and secrets. Sean, it's been fascinating. Again, thanks for your openness, Matt, and your stories and your take on how to grow a successful LinkedIn profile. To everybody else, thanks for joining us at the Strategy Factory. If you found this conversation valuable, please don't forget to like and share it to your network. And to anybody who you think might want to know more about great leadership and effective governance from the experts, don't forget to keep an eye out for the next episode of the Strategy Session series, where we continue to explore the minds and methods of exceptional leaders in lots of different industries. Sean, thanks again. It's been a blast. I've really enjoyed it.
Sure.